Okay, don't go overboard. So, what are we thinking about the Epstein files? I know that it's something you've wanted to talk about. It's something that I've had subscribers ask me to speak on. And here's the thing, and I just want to be 100% honest in front of you and the subscribers. I am only willing to go so far politically about the Epstein files simply because politics isn't something that I'm ready to discuss in any kind of depth. I don't know if I ever will publicly. I know that there's politics involved with the Epstein files. So as far as people that would be on the list, I'm fine to talk about. And as far as let's just try. Let's just try to have the
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, I would. The first thing, since we're in those within those parameters, I think would be open to discuss is King Charles' reaction to Prince Andrew. There must be enough evidence there for him to act in such a decisive fashion. Though much of what Andrew's uh, situation has changed as far as his elite status as a privileged individual. There must be something very, very evident for them to be so decisive. So that said, whatever Virginia Giuffre's situation was in this newly published book, has had to reveal particulars that are damning to Andrew's status, and clearly whether or not there'll be legal prosecution, I don't know. That's, I guess, up to Scotland Yard. Will they pursue something like that now that he's a citizen? Um, but
And
that
will he be
was
extradited to the United States to go under scrutiny for the United States
all I know is that the
judicial system?
victims have not had a voice. They have not been heard.
So
What happened
I
in
just
Florida
I just
to
want to say something, and only because and then you could go on, but I don't want to lose my train of thought here. And maybe in future it would be better if instead of me interrupting you that I get something to write notes down on. But I think we can interrupt each other fairly, to be honest with you. But my thing is that I don't know if Prince Charles has seen such damning evidence. Because here's the thing, I think that if he thinks he's guilty, he's thought he's guilty. He knows his brother. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that he's probably already thought of the poor behavior because it's been documented. I mean, we've seen bad behavior when it comes to Prince Andrew. It's not to this extreme, but we've seen it. Imagine what we haven't seen that they've been able to keep hidden. So that's one thing. And two, I think that that King Charles has maybe also behaved in taking the titles away, which I'm not saying they shouldn't have been taken away, but not so much because it was proven enough as much as it just is not a good look that he keeps them because he's been heckled, he's been asked, they've been disgusted at the fact that he still does have his or he still had his royal titles. So but the thing is, as we spoke of, well, I'm going to stop there because I said that that's all I wanted to bring to that was I'm just not sure that it was because of all the evidence per se, or if it's because of how the royal family is being looked upon now with everything that has come out by public opinion.
I think to some degree there's much that speaks for itself. Now, whether he has seen conclusive, damning evidence or not, there must be something there, as you may have identified, that he knows who this person is to that degree, but he's taken away his title. Apparently, that is rare, and it doesn't happen under and with normal circumstances of bad behavior. So that's and that also speaks to some kind of betrayal to the family that is very protective of the family. It's a mechanism, I think, to shield and protect them from making him a citizen like that.
I
So
think that that
that is
betrayal
incredibly
happened
serious.
even when the queen was alive, but the queen, you know, and I loved the queen. I think that the queen didn't put one step bad. However, looking back, I think that was her son, supposedly her favorite child was Andrew. That's what we hear. So that's the only time that I feel like maybe her lines were blurred because he had already, when she was alive, embarrassed. When she's the one that could have stopped um and did what's happening now, she could have done it because the behavior was already there. It was already spoken about. I think that that interview had already taken place. The one that infamous interview where he was stupid enough to say dumbass shit like he didn't sweat, and you know what I'm saying? So I think that the
A
embarrassment,
very elitist position that he
right?
has lived, and
I don't
part of I
sweat.
think part of whatever the king's conviction was to ostracize him to that degree has to be the fact that he also hasn't relented. That Andrew hasn't shown any remorse, he hasn't shown any guilt, he hasn't named any names,
Taking any
done,
responsibility at all.
he hasn't done any of that whatsoever. And as a result, the victims have been they have suffered. They have been accosted and some may have been deprived of their lives in this very sad and scary way that power operates to protect itself. And there is whatever Epstein was involved with, it had incredible influence. There was a lot of
Well,
money involved. There was a lot of
exactly. That's what I was going to
intelligence
say. It's
and
come
intel and
out.
other things.
Well, it's come out about how much money it costs to traffic individuals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
and all
so,
that evidence should have
but
been
also,
exposed,
the
but it
problem,
got
with Andrew was the fact that he continued a relationship after Epstein was guilty in the Palm Beach charges. Even though Epstein was able to come and go from the jail in Florida the way he was, he slept at the jail sometimes, and they considered that some sort of sentence. You, you know that happened, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, that was
and
part of
and
the deal that Acosta cut. The
so but and so the problem with he was convicted, and then Andrew continues on, and then they find this note or something that says we'll continue to have fun soon, so that's, and then
play,
he
I think
says
the
that
word was
he went
play.
there. Huh?
The word they used was play, if I remember.
Yes, exactly, we'll play soon,
It
that's
was a
right,
little
that's
bit
right.
more insidious feeling,
Yep,
creepy feeling.
exactly. You're right. 1,000,000%. The word was play, and it definitely gives a different connotation of what was meant. A total different yeah.
Yeah, it's kinda like
Definitely a
the creep
different.
value in that other letter where it was like,
Yep.
yeah, so,
It's more specific to what was going on, I think,
yeah.
obviously. And the attitude of what it was when they were,
Well, that's what
trafficking.
that's what the absolute horrific side of this is, that this is a cabal of, there were hundreds apparently that Ghislaine Maxwell had trafficked in front of Epstein, and Epstein then pimped out to all the people that he was involved with, and this speaks to the worst of what
And you do know that, I'm sorry, you
money
do
and
know that it
capital
came
does.
out that that Epstein, Maxwell, and Harvey Weinstein, were at one of Prince Andrew's daughter's 18th birthday. Did you know that?
Nay, I didn't. But I've heard
That
all sorts of little things like there have been
that
secret
did come
parties,
out.
and yeah, that came out of Epstein and Trump have been at a party all privately with like 28 women at their party or something. Yeah, you hear these things, and there has to be some kind of public trial that needs some kind of prosecution, even if it's a mock prosecution on what we know uh, against Epstein, but that never actually happened on behalf of these victims. They need their voice, and it needs to come out. And it's a what the king has decided. You and I can probably estimate isn't necessarily empathetic towards the victims. We'd like to think that, because we think of noblesse oblige, that there's some value in the imperial reality that the monarchs represent from the age of the past. And sure, that maybe there's some empathy for the victim. I think it's more because of the protective mechanism and because it's so damning at what he has chosen and how he has chosen to go out with this. How Andrew has decided not to name names, not to fess up, not to do the right thing. You would think, as the monarch, he could almost order his brother to do the right thing by this.
I
Even if you
don't
want to live in my house on the estate without your title, you still need to do the right thing by this, maybe to avoid prosecution or some other thing.
I don't have a clue what he can force him to do or what he believes his brother. I think that he knows his brother's behavior, maybe not to the extent of
The
what it
extent is
is.
the scary part is, well, has he gone to some kind of cold-blooded, assassin thing or some other thing that has gotten involved with some of these witnesses, like Dufresne, who suddenly is unalived,
Oh, and
and
she had said at one point, she said, "If I ever end up, somebody saying I committed suicide, I didn't." She went on the record for saying that a while ago.
that is
Uh,
definitely suspect. I mean, I don't
I
like to be
definitely think so.
conspiracy
Right
theorist.
on the eve of her book being released.
It's very painful, very, very
That's
suspect.
yeah.
And it speaks to something very dirty about him that maybe also the king knows and is convinced of. And, you know, so what? He's protecting a criminal now? Like, is there some.
I don't know, but he went from one estate to another, didn't he?
Yes, he's not necessarily had a major reduction in the quality of life that he's living, I would think.
Exactly, and he gets to keep his mother's money that was left to him.
He doesn't get to go to the balls and the parties and everything, but he's still a name about town if he wants to go, or, you know, kind of scamming about or something. He wants to go
Yeah.
slum it.
Yeah. I definitely I do feel I don't know what's going to be the latest. I heard them talk about will if there is a scenario where the United States wants to question him, how that would look.
Yes, I would be very curious to hear if there would be an extradition. Now, the UK, was it UK or, yeah, I want to say held somebody for a period of time before they extradited him. And there's a reality to what international laws will be in play for something like that. Um, they're supposed to be our partner. They're supposed
Right.
to be our partner in almost every way. Um,
Right. But I don't know
so
about
you would think
family.
that. Well, a lot of it, I think, would also have to come down to if there are charges, that there's got to be charges that can relate to where it happened in his domain. If there's evidence there, they need to charge him there first, I would think. I'd like to see Scotland Yard step up and actually charge him.
Yeah, so the last thing
And look at me,
I
all fancy, like saying Scotland Yard, like I know what the hell I'm talking about.
no, but I did watch where I think it was Nancy Grace, I want to say, and it was just recent, and it was about how she had somebody on the show, I believe, talking about how Scotland Yard was aware of certain behaviors supposedly and how they turned a blind eye or didn't um specifically look the other way. So more than just turning a blind eye per
Some of
se.
that has to be dealt with because there are whistleblowers in this world that are being arrested for coming forward, and there's a suppression of justice that needs to be addressed. And whether it's in his lifetime or posthumously, I truly feel the voice of the victims will come out. We will get details. The public will know the depth and the level of malfeasance that's occurred here. Will it happen sooner or later? Right now, that's a big pickle that's it's going to affect air travel. People are not going to be able to be comfortable traveling. We're expecting someone here from New York at the end of the month, and somebody very closely wanted to come out from Florida, and it's all suspect. I know two people affected by what conceivably all ties back to this one very protective mechanism to keep this information delayed as long as possible.
Mhm.
And
Well,
the king
listen, we
clearly
all
has got
know.
this information to be so decisive against his own family.
Well, you're talking about our government when you bring up, because we're not releasing those files right now. So, when it comes to the air traffic control, you're not talking about Andrew, you're talking about our government, about how that's gonna be. And, certainly we both are on the same side of they fucking need to be released because what's right is right. And I think we're both on the same side of, unfortunately, that's not the way the country moves anymore. If it did, it's more important to protect bad reputations than it is to, do the right thing anymore.
People believe the lies about good people very, very easily and quickly, but completely
I'm not
ignore
sure it's
truth
about
about
I'm not
about
sure.
bad people often enough, and it's very, very evident. And it's sad. It's
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's that or if it's I think that, and I need to I'm gonna say it, uh I don't think it's that. I think that politics has become all or nothing in the fact of either you can't you can't pick and choose, and you should be able to pick and choose the certain topics that are of importance to you and how you feel about them. And and sometimes they are both Democrat and Republican. But you're not allowed to have a middle anymore. There is such a chasm between the two that it's become a war. It's really become a war and an unsafe place to even speak about politics. The problem with it's fair to say that the problem with these files being released is that there's too many people in higher places that would be taken down because of this, and they are going to be protected.
and that is very much centered, and it speaks to what happens when money is extracted to the degree that it's concentrated in just a handful of people. I heard a figure of back in the 80s, there was only maybe 12 or 13 billionaires on Earth, and now there are over 3,000. Over 1,000 of billionaires exist here in this country, and 10 or 12 of them have reached centibillionaire status. They have $100 billion or more. And it's that kind of thing that lends itself to this above the law kind of quality. And whatever the king has decided against his brother still is flirting on the edge of that. There's an envelope where they're above the law. They decide what justice is, and it's not coming from the victims and the need to satisfy the crimes against the victims. No, it's coming from some idea that they have about family or some other protective mechanism.
Oh,
So
I
he
don't
gets
think
to
it's
his.
so much about family as it is so here
You think
it
it's
mean
face? Okay.
I no, I think it's monarchy. Now I understand monarchy is family, but monarchy is different than family, as you know, because I have family they have monarchy. So the monarchy that is in place there, which is still family, is held to a much higher regard than somebody's average family, including an English average family. So it's
They
protecting
always about
it's
class that
protecting the
way.
monarchy. It's protecting the monarchy, not so much the family per se, but the monarchy. What
Well,
do you
even the
think?
name Windsor is a made up name. Apparently, they have their roots in
Mountbatten.
German families, and Mountbatten is,
Mountbatten.
yeah. So all of that is got a value when it comes to what he's protecting, and there's definitely money interest, and there's a symbol head value, supposedly a figurehead value to the nation's government itself. That's very important to them, and even Canada apparently there are
Well,
elements that
also,
still have
but
great
but
allegiance
here,
towards the king in Canada.
yeah, but here's the thing. So, you know, the queen, who again I had the utmost respect for, right? And before then, her dad, and before then, so the monarchy again is hundreds of years old. Yes, hundreds of years old. So, or
Since
thousands of years old,
1066, if I
right?
remember William
So,
of Orange, William the Conqueror.
okay, so so being that the queen has worked very hard to protect her family so that they can continue on with the monarchy, right? So now Charles, so I think he's trying to protect the monarchy for his grandchildren, let alone his son. Does that make any sense?
Well, who's the heir after Charles?
Charles comes William, Prince William.
William will be, and then
And
his children
then
will be.
yeah, and then he's got Louis. Is it Louis or what's his son? Philip? No, not Philip.
The royalty
I
thing
know
was
that
always
Louis
kind of
is
a
one of the
class because they
kids,
had the
and
royalty and the peerage, and there are layers of class, almost like a caste system. In other countries,
oh,
it's the strangest
absolutely.
phenomena. It's but people paid allegiance to them because they felt again that noblesse oblige. They felt you know some kind of parentage vibe, I guess.
Well, that's
Often,
exactly what supposedly is what the it is. They are supposed to be almost like the parents or the mother of the country was the queen. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So definitely that, because they're not political figureheads. They're not supposed to be political figureheads at all. They're the face of the monarch there, but not at all are they supposed to have any kind of they're not supposed to be any kind of political figures.
Well, nonetheless, you know that there is an influence. Certainly, there's stories in history going back. I mean, in recent history, especially going back to Churchill, of political influence and
Oh,
things that.
definitely. Listen, they go so and I know I'm cutting you off, but they go to the prime minister, I think, goes every week to the house of the king. But I'm gonna listen, I'm just gonna tell you what it is. So I'm just gonna look it up. Hang on. Does anybody in the royal family, are they any kind of political figures? No member of the royal family. No, members of the royal family are not considered political figures in the traditional sense and are expected to remain politically neutral. However, they have symbolic and constitutional roles. So when they say non-political and constitutional, that kind of is a definitely uh, uh, hypocrisy, right? Such as the king as head of state who performs ceremonial duties and has regular private meetings with the prime minister. While they don't engage in daily politics or policy, the monarchy uses its position for soft power and diplomacy. Soft power. There's your little loophole.
Well, that's
So,
exactly even why, let's say, Princess Diana might have been You know,
Unalive. Yeah.
she became a controversial figure because she exercised soft power against people who were using landmines against children or some other ridiculous thing that she got involved with, and
Right.
it was a
And
no
AIDS
brainer for her
and
to
the
be involved
AIDS.
with,
Right.
and helping others. And the next thing um, theories abound on what ended her
Right.
time so early and abruptly.
Right.
Um, yeah, again, I think it speaks to the victims, whatever has convinced him about his brother. So, and I would like for him personally, the king, to address the victims in that way. That there is
He
this.
did. You saw that he what he has said is basically a blanket statement that came out, I believe from, uh, I don't Buckingham Palace, that said that they stand with the victims. That's was like the blanket statement that came out from my understanding. However, that was even before I believe that they did away with his taking away his title. People had asked me in my in another channel of mine, they were like, "Hey Toddy, do you think that uh he's gonna take away his prince title?" And I said, "I don't know if you're born into that, if that could be taken away." I honestly didn't know because I'm not from England. As much as I love um the UK, I'm not 100% sure of how everything works over there. I'm not sure how it works over here. So I didn't know. That's the truth. And it seems the rules keep changing.
And we all live on the perimeters of our ignorance, that's for sure.
But I didn't
I know a
know
lot of, I
if
know,
he
but
was if it
I
was
know
a
it very
birthright.
little.
I didn't know if it was a birthright that he had the prince title or not. And either which way, if it was a birthright that he got the title, then yeah, he could be a bad prince, but I didn't know if it was a birthright, if King Charles had the right to go ahead and take the title away. So I couldn't really answer that because I didn't know. Clearly, he had the right to take the title away, and he's no longer considered a prince. I don't know at the age he's at, to be honest with you, how it affects him. And living a great life on, how was it, 365 acres, is it that he lives in now? I believe.
He lives on an estate, without a doubt. It's something,
Yeah, no, I know that, but they said the
some country
acreage, and
home. Yeah.
yeah, they said the acreage, and I want to say it was that many acres, but so, and he's got his mother's money because each kid got money when she made money as a businesswoman as well, and because she got salary and such, and she left money to her children when she died, the queen. So he's not hurting. He's
She was one of the wealthiest women in the world for a while there, I believe.
Yeah, so but some of the stuff wasn't hers, but personally what belonged to the royal family, but her specific stuff and his dad's. So he's not hurting, and I think that he's about the same age as us, right?
We'll have
Andrew.
to Google that. I honestly
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
look it up now. How old is Prince Andrew?
It might have been, for
I
some
think
reason, I thought he was younger, in
so.
his
He's
50s.
65.
He's
65.
65, he's our age,
Okay. So I'm 62 and you're 64?
somewheres.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, he's around the same age. So I wouldn't mind being in his position. However, I certainly wouldn't want the shit that's going around in him, with not only, I think they're more than accusations. You listen, alleged, but I personally think that was his hand around that woman's waist. And I definitely think that he knew what was going on. I think he's full of shit. I think that he's guilty of what he's guilty of and he knew better. That's what I think when it comes to him. So I think just like anybody else who behaved and received these girls, they need to be penalized. Yes, that's one. I don't care who they are. Definitely. And those that knew and kept their mouth shut, they need to be penalized as well. That's the way I feel. So I think we're on the same page as that. At the age that we are, to have 365 acres to mull around and to have the money to be able to do what you want. Yes, that's absolutely horrible to get on a plane but you're going to get on private planes, right? You still are going to arrive where people are going to point at you and look at you with disgust. That's something that you can't,
Hopefully to
that's
the pain.
priceless. That's something
Hopefully to
that's
the pain.
priceless. What?
Hopefully to the pain, where he gets to keep his ears so he can hear the shrieks of the children as he walks by them.
No, I'm serious, man. Like his, he, he lives a life of quality when it comes to the financial things and what people would look at and say, yeah, that's pomp. And what is it? Pomp and what is it?
Circumstance.
No, when they have the it's not pomp and circumstance. When they're having the wedding, it's pomp and something else, I forget. But it's not pomp and circumstance. I don't think it is.
No, that's the name of a song, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, when they have the festivities, it's called something where it's pomp and something else, but where they have that's not changing his life. He can live within 365 acres and have shit delivered and go on private planes and see things at night and where he might not be discovered as Andrew. But he's got to feel inside at this point, I would think, I would hope, shame. I'm like, but does he know shame? This guy, he has like 55 teddy bears on his bed. Did you hear about that? And as a grown adult, and they have to be put back in the same exact position that the bears were taken off each night. So the servants, it's true. The
It
servants
sounds a
had
little autistic. It sounds like he's on the
take a
spectrum a little bit.
picture, take a picture of these way these animals are arranged on the bed so that they could put them back the way that they're seen. Is that something else?
That is very curious and curiouser. And certainly as it relates to, the kind of
They're teddy bears.
direction that the crime leads in, that, it leads to, questionable character at the very least, I would think. Certainly some kind of psychological trauma going on with him that led to whatever has, because a lot of times, it's a generational affliction.
Oh, so this is perfect because we talked about in the last one the Gypsy Rose thing, and now we're talking about. So see, so there they are, all raised by the same parents. There's 4 of them, right? 3 boys and 1 girl. So there's Charles, there's Anne, there's Andrew, and there's Philip, right? That's the 4 children of not Philip. Philip was the
William.
husband. What? No.
William's the son
The
of
other
Charles.
son, there's another son. No, not well, I just said Andrew. It's this guy was a director, just so you know. He put on a show about the royal family, like as like no shit. Like
Like a
remember
parody?
Battle of the Network Stars? No, listen, remember Battle of the Network Stars? Do you
Yeah,
remember
vaguely.
that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. He did it with the royal family. Like no shit. This is I'm serious. So okay,
That's
Edward.
trippy.
Edward.
It was Edward. Okay.
Okay. So it's Charles, Anne, Andrew, and Edward. And they still have it as Prince Andrew on this yeah.
The
Anyway, so
Wikipedia.
it's not Wikipedia. Let's see what Wikipedia does say. Hang
Well,
on.
there was some kind of question as it relates to the fact, because you had identified earlier it's a birthright. Can the king actually take away? He could take away his prince status, but can he take away him actually being a prince? Can he take away his birthright? And
So let's look this up. Because is it? I would think that it is a birthright, right? So I didn't
you had
know. Hold on.
identified that. I think it is. That's how
Hold on.
it's conferred.
Is Prince Andrew still considered a prince? No, Prince Andrew is no longer. This is AI though, so I don't know about this. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is the way he's supposed to be. No, Prince Andrew is no longer considered prince and is now formally. Let's go to Wiki. Prince Andrew stripped of his prince title per Buckingham Palace. That was 8 days ago. So yes, he was stripped of it. Gives up royal title, including Duke of York, after discussion with King. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Here we go. Here's his wiki. Doesn't say prince anymore. Says he's the second son of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Andrew was born second in line. It doesn't. Oh, wait, here it says born Prince Andrew. That says that. Andrew served. His kids still keep the title, I believe. I wonder Fergie doesn't, right?
Is she divorced him anyway?
Yeah, she's divorced.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but even no, it became Lady Di. She became Lady Di. Hang on, so
yeah,
Virginia
so maybe that
Dupree's
settle that.
personal life. God. Titles and honors. Here we go. As the son of the reigning monarch, he was styled at birth as His Royal Highness the Prince Andrew. On July 23rd, 1986, the day of his wedding, he was created Duke of York, Earl of Inverness, and Baron Kelly, which I'm sure it's pronounced a different way because it's Scottish, and assumed the style His Royal Highness the Duke of York. He was occasionally known as Earl of Inverness in Scotland. That's where I got that from. And Baron Killarney in Northern Ireland. So that's an Irish name. My bad. In 2019, in light of Andrew's friendship with convicted ex-offender Epstein, residents of Inverness started a campaign to So the residents of Inverness, I've been to Inverness, Scotland, and it's on the tip. Him of his earldom, saying that it is inappropriate that Prince Andrew is associated with our beautiful city. In 2022, there was a renewed petition in Inverness, and the residents of Kylie felt that he should have his barony removed. Rachel Maskell stated that she would look for ways to make Andrew give up his dukedom if he did not voluntarily relinquish it. He didn't do anything voluntarily. City of York Council. In January 2022, Andrew ceased using the style Royal Highness in a public capacity, but was still permitted to use it in a private capacity. On October 17th, 2025, following discussions with Charles III, Andrew agreed to cease using his peerages and honors, including his dukedom and knighthoods, as a royal knight of companion of the Order of the Garter and a Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order. His banner of arms, which had hung in St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle since 2006 to signify his membership to the Order of Garter, was removed. On October 30th, Buckingham Palace announced that Charles III had started the formal process to remove his brother's style titles and honors. Andrew's name was removed from the roll of peerage the same day. And although this did not revoke his peerages, it meant he was no longer entitled to any place in the orders of precedence derived from them, and would cease to be addressed or referred to by any title derived from his peerages in official documents. Letters patent were used on November 3rd, officially removing Andrew of the style Royal Highness and title Prince.
And all this without an actual criminal conviction. There was no international crime that he got charged with, no American crime, no UK. He has no. So, whatever the evidence is, whatever has convinced the king to do this, to commit to this,
You don't think it
has
could
to
be
be,
by
it has to be
popular?
proportionally intense enough for him to get his brother to do the right thing,
You don't think
to stand trial, to actually face justice, to make amends, to do the right thing by the monarchy and by the name. He's still bearing the name. He's still Andy Windsor. I mean, so
Andy? Andy,
yeah,
Randy, Andy. That's what he
yeah.
was
So I
called.
mean, the
I think
brother's got
it
to, he's
seriously.
got to
I
look
think
at him
it
and
was
say,
by.
"You got to do the, you fall on your sword by the king's command on this one for the family, for the monarchy."
I think that this is seriously. It was by public. I think this was by the majority rules as far as public opinion. I think that Charles. I really think this was to protect the monarchy because there was
It's
so
just
many.
it's not going far enough.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying to you is, as far as you're asking, how did he remove? Why, without a conviction, the stuff was done without a conviction? I'm telling you, I think it was done. You're saying because of proof that came out in that book. That could be the case. It could be the case, but it could also very well be that he has been heckled everywhere he's gone. That has been like the number one question. When are you going to remove your brother's titles from him? So
That's without a doubt. I
if he can't get further with the English people, that they want that answered first, and he can't bridge that gap without answering that question. You know what I'm saying? Like this could
you
have
know,
been
Charles
forced
may
by
be aware of things going
public
back to their
opinion.
childhood that
That's what I
only he
said
knew.
before. He knows
Yeah.
his brother. He knows his brother. But there's a huge age gap between the two of them. I'm not sure how much time, especially they spent together growing up, simply because Charles went away to school, and there is a huge age gap between the two boys, the two men. Now, let's look that up. Um, hang on. What's
So they
the
were,
age gap between King Charles and Prince Andrew? I don't want it to say Andrew who. So, it's 11 years and 3 months. That's a long time. You know what I'm saying? Especially when the one kid's going off to school at that age. The other one, and a different relationship with the mother. I mean, who was the queen? The queen wanted to have children again because she felt like she failed. Not that she failed, I'm sorry, that she wasn't there and ready, because when she had become pregnant, she was a young queen, very young queen, and then pregnant again. And then that was it for a while. And then decided to become pregnant again because she wanted to be a better mom to these kids. And she had basically known how to be a queen and felt comfortable in that role that she wanted to. So the relationship she had, especially with Andrew, was supposed to, I mean, he was supposedly known as the favorite, you know. So I don't know. I'm glad again that she's not here to see this, but I think she knew what was coming her way because she also knew who he was, you know.
you would think she would have known all the stories and the characters. She would have had word on him and tabs on him. And so there's some questionable things there, without a doubt. I mean, who knows as far as what goes up to his makeup, as far as behaviorally what he experienced as a kid.
I'm not gonna blame the queen. She got
Not
three
going to be. It's not about
babies.
blame. Again, again, that's the
How
thing you're
about it
missing
was
with
just
it.
that he was
When you bring a
self-entitled?
lens up to something, it's you can't always get at causation, and causation doesn't necessarily mean that is the entirety of a thing.
Okay, so
So
let's just understand that Andrew, he was brought up with a lot more confidence than Charles. Charles was picked on. Charles was more introvert, and he was the first child born to them. A lot of expectations he was going to be king, so just a lot different the relationship, right? Obviously, he's going to be king, and the other one's the spare. Because at that point, it was never going to be. Um, it wasn't going to be Anne because it was going to go to the males first. So, and Anne, I think, was the hardest working, royal as far as the royal family goes. But I think that I think he was spoiled. He was the better looking one of all of them. I mean, Charles, he didn't have the greatest looks as a kid. He was gangly looking as well as his physique. As he grew up and grew into his looks, but as a teenager and such, he didn't have the relationship he would have liked to have had with his dad. It was a matter of fact he had a better relationship with his uncle, I believe, the one that was killed on the boat, the blew up with the bomb. Uh and I think that was his dad's brother, I believe. Yeah, it was his dad's brother. And so he didn't have the greatest relationship, Charles. He's always, in my opinion, never had the confidence that Andrew had. Andrew had a lot of confidence. And at this point, I think that the queen was more indulgent to the children that came at the second time.
well,
And
certainly Charles never had the sense to go to the island. He didn't get on the plane, as far as we know. He did none of those. Whereas, we have names like Bill Clinton that did, and supposedly some portrait of Bill Clinton in drag on a couch over Epstein's banister or some bedroom or some other thing that
alleged,
was there.
alleged.
Well, no, no, there's photos of that particular portrait that was in Epstein's house.
Really?
Oh yeah, no, make people make a point to identify Clinton as one of the players
No, no,
in
no. I
this
asked about the
cabal.
photo. I asked about the photo.
I
No.
haven't seen it lately, but I remember seeing it once. A photo of Clinton in drag, like a gown, on a long couch, and it was a
Allegedly,
painting. It was a
supposedly.
painting.
Don't blow up the channel yet, man.
All right, but it was a painting at the
Okay.
time that was apparently hung.
I can't imagine having something like that and knowing the guy's coming over. How does he explain that? I mean, like, man, we were only joking.
Well, given the way the letters have read, there's an intense kind of love, bonding, and imprinting that occurred between the people in this cabal. They definitely bonded. They were imprinted on each other. They were very protective of each other. And they got involved with a network of protection that who knows how far it's reached. Because, Charles has yet, in my opinion, to right the situation. He wasn't involved. He knows it's wrong. Then you make your brother step on his sword. You make
So
your
I
brother
think so.
become
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now I think that that's what he did. So how do you where? So how do you? What's your definition of what does that look like to you with making his brother step on the sword?
well,
What?
Andrew could at least talk about the people that he'd been on the island with. He could
So how would
identify
his brother? How would
the
his
other
brother?
players.
But how would his brother make him do that? Is the question.
Well, they would be extreme type of tough love that either you do that or you can go to London downtown and receive a pension of $125 a week or whatever the
Well, okay.
laws
So clearly,
say. They
he
could
doesn't
completely
lose.
shut him out.
No, no, they can't. Here's the thing, they could take away where he lives unless his mother left him a place, okay? Then let's say Queen Elizabeth didn't leave him a house to stay in or an estate. He still has the money. So let's see how much money
I don't
Prince
know, he's the
Andrew has.
king. Maybe he can rule that the money is still in the family and put in a freeze on it. and make
I
sure
don't
it
know
goes
that
to
you
his
could do that.
kids.
That's an inheritance that
He's the
without
king,
stipulation.
but he's the
Yeah, but
king.
again, he can't
Good to
change
be
the
the king.
laws. There's no politics. How can he change the laws?
Well, I
How
mean,
much
is
money
it the
is
laws that
Prince
are just
Andrew
people
worth?
responding to the command like they're doing with other supposed kings?
Prince Andrew's worth is unknown, but sources suggest he receives a private income from the king. Okay, so that should stop. Previously, he may have had access to substantial allowances from the royal family, but this was reportedly stopped last year. His only publicly listed source of income is a Navy pension of $20,000 annually. I don't believe that because I think that let's just see how much. Wait a minute. How much money did Queen Elizabeth leave to Prince Andrew when she died? Let's
And
just
who
see.
knows? He might have already splurged that
Prince
money.
Andrew received no inheritance from Queen Elizabeth's estate. It was left entirely to King Charles. I didn't know that. To avoid inheritance tax. To a 1993 agreement, with some sources suggest that Queen may have provided funds to Andrew privately before her death. Her will did not leave him any portion of the estimated $650 million estate. Wow, I didn't know that. So wait a minute. So wait. Now I want to see how much money did Prince Philip leave to Prince Andrew? Let's see. Prince Andrew is not believed to have received any money directly from Prince Philip's will, as the majority of his estate went to Queen Elizabeth. That makes sense. That makes sense. It would go to his wife.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that
I mean,
that
unless
makes
there were insurance policies or some other thing, he
and
did not
that could
leave.
very well be. I
Yeah,
could sit all day and ask questions. How much
yeah.
of the receipt did they get from Harrods? You know what I mean? Like how much of
So you,
that
you
refund did
drive
they
down
get?
to Lloyd's in London and you say, "I'd like to take an insurance policy out on my father." Who's your father? The king. Yes.
Mm-mm.
Beautiful.
He wasn't the king though. He was prince, always
Well,
the
he
prince.
was a consort, right? Right. So,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but yeah. Anyway,
Charles was a consort. Yeah.
I think I do not need to like let the dogs out because it's already 7:20 here and
So
it's
we
dark
now have
enough.
answered that question. It's
Who
been
let the dogs out?
it's
Who?
been itching everybody for years. So there it
Yeah, I
is.
know. I know.
Well, thank you for this time. I always appreciate a vital exchange. And
Yeah, this was good. I appreciate the first one and this one. And I'll see you in a couple days. Let me end this.
alrighty.
End this. Hang on. And guys, always remember if you got to stand on something, make sure you got a good argument. Thanks and take care.